What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home here at fakepigskin.com. I am your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at Notorious, KRO. With me once again, it's Brian Twining. What's up, Brian?
What's going on, Kyle? Man, that was a crazy freaking Sunday. Who the hell would have thought that the Green Bay Packers would jump out to a 10-0 lead and then not score again in the first quarter? That game was crazy.
The games were insane. The Titans got up big, blew it, and then came back and had an amazing game. Derrick Henry does some king shit. AJ Brown, absolute stud. But we're here to talk Week 7 waiver wires. We're going to react to some of the stuff in Week 6, give you the names that you should be targeting this week, and then get out of here. So Brian, before we dive in, if you're enjoying what we're doing, if you're enjoying the show, make sure you mash that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Let us know in the comments who's the preemptive pickup you're picking up this week. That's going to be talked about next week as we head into the Week 8 waiver wire. But with that being said, with subscribing, make sure you turn those bell notifications on so you get notified when we post content, when we go live, all that good stuff. Let's hit the Week 7 waiver wire and let's start at running back. A few interesting names. We're back on the Boston Scott train as I recently acquired another Miles Sanders share in my Dynasty League, and only to have him get immediately hurt because I have Dak Prescott and Saquon Barkley, and all my other top assets are hurt. So you're welcome. I'm sorry, Miles Sanders owners. It is Boston Scott season, but I don't know that I love him.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. If it's a PPR league, I do like the play going up against a Giants team who just let Washington running backs, I think, catch a total of like 13 or 14 balls this last week. So yeah. I like that aspect of it. But the Eagles, the last few games, just haven't been able to get anything going on the ground. I know that was against two of the NFL's best run defenses, but pretty much all season there hasn't been much running room there as their offensive line is pretty beat up. So if it's a PPR league, I love Boston Scott.
Yeah, and I don't even hate Corey Clement. Obviously, Week 1, when the Eagles' offense was, it's still kind of a mess, and we'll talk receivers here in a bit, what we're doing, and as they start to get healthier, and then other pieces kind of fade away. But the rush share was Boston Scott at 52%, almost 53%, and Corey Clement had 35.3%. The target share, they each had 4.8% of the targets. This is all per late-round quarterback J.J. Zacharyson. And the snap rate was 56% for Scott and 36% for Clement. They're both fine. They're both usable, especially with bye weeks and injuries and all the other stuff. But that being said, there are a couple other names. Gus Edwards is somebody that I'm going to be stashing if I can. The Ravens have like this absurd love with him, even though J.K. Dobbins is clearly the best back there. Mark Ingram injured his ankle and is, seems like he's going to be okay, but we'll see. J.D. Mckissic in PPR, I think, is incredibly interesting. Rostering about 12% of Yahoo leagues, has 19 catches on 22 targets in the last 3 weeks. And Kyle Allen and Washington are in kind of a decent spot this week. So if you're in a full PPR, I don't hate that look. So Brian, if you're in a half PPR, are you picking up one of the Eagles running backs rather, or are you picking up J.D. Mckissic?
Oh man, I'd probably still go Mckissic there because he's been phenomenal out of the backfield as a receiver, but he's also been pretty much sharing the carries out of the backfield with Antonio Gibson. I know the snap share isn't quite the same, but JD McKissic, when he's on the field, he's touching the ball a ton, and that's fantastic value for a guy who we would have never even thought in a million years this dude would be carrying the ball as much as he is. But for a Washington team that, they're not good on offense, so they want to keep the ball out of Kyle Allen's hands, and going up against the Giants team, they use their running backs, and they seem to like what they see out of McKissic.
Yeah, we're recording this, by the way, during the Bills-Chiefs game. So if we don't mention Gabriel Davis because he goes off, or we don't mention Dan Arnold because he finally gets more volume at tight end or whatever, that's why. Head to fakepigskin.com. Any of those guys that pop off, I will make sure to include in my article, which goes up every single Tuesday, unless there's games on Tuesday, and then it goes up Wednesday or Thursday. The NFL doesn't really care about us. No. Anyways, talk to me about Zack Moss. I think he's terrible, but he's available in 45% of Yahoo leagues and potentially in your leagues. Obviously, playing tonight for the first time in a couple weeks. Tell me why you're adding him.
So I just think that the touchdown equity is there for Zack Moss. As the Bills minus him after week 1, they have not been able to get into the end zone on the ground when in close because Devin Singletary is just not built for those short yardage situations. We saw it last week when they started using TJ Yeldon a lot more than we would have anticipated. And seeing that Yeldon is inactive for today's game against the Chiefs makes me believe that Zack Moss will be an integral part of their short yardage, red zone plays and stuff like that. And for an offense that is churning like they have this year, a guy who has an opportunity to score a touchdown every week is somebody you want on the back end of your bench for a bye week fill in, or, if there were an injury and you need a flyer real quick.
Yeah, I'm team Devin Singletary firmly, but I also understand that he hasn't been phenomenal. He's also not getting all the volume. So the coaching staff clearly wants to spread out the love. And as much as it pains me to say, Zack Moss is probably somebody worth adding. I don't know that I'm ever going to feel great about using him, but we've seen plenty of situations where just because you like one player over another doesn't mean that's what the coaching staff sees. That doesn't mean where the volume is going to go. So unfortunately, Zack Moss is probably somebody that if he's free in your leagues, I would be adding him. And, hopefully he doesn't have a monster game here for those that aren't using him. And he actually is somewhat affordable, via Fab or via those waiver claims. Okay, let's talk receivers. There's a few names I want to dive into, but first, Chase Claypool is still available in over half of Yahoo leagues.
That's ridiculous.
I don't get it. Like Juju, I don't want to say it, but it might be time to say goodbye to Juju as an elite fantasy option. James Washington got a ton of love. We'll talk him in a second, but Claypool is an integral piece of this offense. The return of Deontay Johnson, I'm still wondering how that impacts everything, but Claypool's involved. He had another rushing touchdown this week. Oh, Travis Kelce scored. All right, let's go. So you guys can follow along if you're watching the game at home and okay, that's about where we were. That beyond Claypool, we got James Washington at 10%, who's seen 7 and 7 targets. We got Tim Patrick of the Broncos that, despite the quarterback change, has seen 10 targets on, or 10 catches on 15 targets. Back-to-back 100-yard games has Kansas City, the Chargers, and Atlanta in the next 3. All really nice matchups. And then there's all the Eagles mess. So DeSean Jackson's supposed to be back this week, 24%. Jalen Reagor is supposed to be back this week, potentially 14%. Travis Fulgham, who's been a monster the past couple weeks, 31% rostered, and Greg Ward at 11%. Would you prefer Washington and Patrick to all of the mess that is the Eagles receivers, or is there a name in there that you would prefer, of this group?
Honestly, if I need a guy that's going to give me like the biggest potential for scoring, I'd be adding DeSean Jackson. He's going up against one of his nemesis, the Giants, who, again, kind of like how we talked about, like when the Dallas Cowboys face certain players, this particular guy goes off. And if DeSean Jackson is active this Thursday against the G-Men, who Jabril Peppers got hurt this week against Washington, so that's going to be huge on the back end of their defense. Expect D-Jax to put up one of his 3-catch, 110-yard, 1 to maybe even 2 touchdown games this week.
Yeah, if you need a 1-week fill-in, I think he is my answer as well, assuming he plays. Obviously, we'll have to keep an eye on everything, but it seems like that's the case. Mm-hmm. If you need a little more consistent playing time, I think Tim Patrick's the guy. Like, I think there's a lot more potential there. Like, I like James Washington as a player more, and obviously Claypool's the guy that I would add over all these people, but with so many names there, with Deontay Johnson and Juju and Ebron, and like there's just so many, and obviously the Steelers offense has been great and they're spreading the ball around and scoring lots, so it's been good. But I expect Tim Patrick to be involved with Courtland Sutton out, and that schedule: Kansas City, the Chargers, Atlanta. Those are 3 defenses that can be thrown all over, even with Drew Lock at quarterback. So if you're looking for more of a long-term option, somebody you can play multiple weeks, I think Tim Patrick's my guy. If you need somebody this week, DeSean Jackson would be my pick.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, because like you said, Tim Patrick, he took over that Courtland Sutton role with that big-bodied guy on the outside who Drew Lock seems to love, and that's why he's been he looked his way last game against the Patriots, and don't expect that to change.
Yeah, and I think Drew Lock will look better as the
Yes.
next couple of weeks. That was obviously hadn't played in a while, had knocked some of the rust off. I think
And that's going up against a good Patriots defense.
Yeah. Let's talk quarterbacks. A couple options. These are for deep leagues. So obviously, if there's better options, if Ryan Tannehill still out floating around, or even Jared Goff, like those are names to target. But Derek Carr is only rostered in 23% of leagues. Obviously, the Raiders had a bye. So that kind of goes into it. And I think a lot of people are going to kind of forget how good he's been because we haven't seen him in a week. So if you need a quarterback for the rest of the way, Derek Carr could absolutely be that guy. He could be a top 7-ish option the rest of the way, especially with Henry Ruggs and Darren Waller. And, they're getting healthier. They're throwing a lot. They have a nice schedule in the coming weeks. And I think he's going to be somebody that the next couple of weeks we're talking about as like a 60-70% rostered guy. And then if you're digging real deep, if you're in super flex in 2 quarterback leagues, Kyle Allen this week, Thursday night. I know it's gross, but Brian, I think you're onto something with this play.
Yeah, I mean, Washington's going to be going up against the Cowboys defense, who is pretty much known to be probably the worst defense in the NFL right now. I know tonight going up against Arizona, the Cowboys are going to be getting Leighton Vander Esch back, but that does not help them on the back end. Yeah. And like we've seen with Kyle Allen and that offense, they like to throw a ton of short passes and let their playmakers do stuff. So, it's been kind of a down couple weeks for a guy like Terry McLaurin, which if you're able to go out and get him right now on the cheap because he's put up 2 like subpar performances, I think he's a great buy low option going forward. And then, like we mentioned, JD McKissic out of the backfield. Antonio Gibson is looking really good.
Logan Thomas finally caught a touchdown.
Yes. Like, I mean, if you're in the situation like many of us with Dak Prescott, or if you have guys on a bye and you're looking for a high upside play, the potential is there for Kyle Allen going up against a poor Cowboys defense.
Yeah, and to McLaurin, like he hasn't been great, but he's also 14 targets, 7 targets, 12 targets. So like in this matchup, he could have like 200 yards and
the volume is there.
Yeah, so great to see even with the changes. Tight end, there's a couple names. I should have been switching through these, but that's okay. There's a lot going on. Anyways, Dallas Goddard should be back this week. 41% rostered in Yahoo leagues. Top 10, top 8 type guy. Zach Ertz is out for the next 3 or 4 weeks. So
this is what people like me who have been stashing Goddard in our IR have been waiting for. The opportunity for him to take over as the number 1 guy in an offense devoid of weapons currently. He'll immediately step into possibly double-digit targets.
Yeah, and obviously, like if you don't have IR, like with all the injuries, it's probably hard to hold on to a lot of these guys. But he's somebody that you should be putting a priority waiver claim on, and I don't think he'll go for as much as people expect, just because he is coming back from injury and has been kind of out of sight, out of mind. So I think he is definitely somebody worthwhile, definitely worth solid play the rest of the year, assuming he's healthy, which if he's back, he should be healthy. If you're digging real deep, Anthony Ferkser, 1% rostered, saw 9 targets against the Texans. Jonnu got an ankle injury early and missed that whole game. Ferkser is somebody that Ryan Tannehill has been using since last season, so this isn't new. This isn't like a flash in the pan. If Jonnu misses any sort of serious time, I think Ferkser becomes a guy that sees anywhere from 5 to 7 or 8 targets in a given game, especially the way that passing game is clicking. Man, that offense is just...
And the way that they utilize play action, I know they're going up against Pittsburgh this week, which I have a standing Pittsburgh Steelers to be the last remaining undefeated team bet going, so I want Pittsburgh to win. But even against that Steelers defense, the one thing that Tennessee will be able to kind of counterbalance against them is the fact that Pittsburgh loves to bring pressure. And if they're bringing pressure on these like heavy sets where Tennessee will just run that play action and find guys one-on-one, this could be a game where Ferkser has an even bigger day because he'll have to get it out of his hand quick, with the heavy pressure. All these Titans pieces, Corey Davis just got activated off of the COVID list today. Like, I want any kind of piece out of this Titans offense right now,
which is crazy. But
exactly.
Shouts to Mike Vrabel, shouts to Arthur Smith,
Ryan Tannehill, baby. Let me pat myself on the back from last year after saying that.
Dude was a quarterback. He was drafted as QB 20 this year, and he's going to probably finish as a top 3 to 5 guy. It's insane. Just a little nugget on that game too. The over under for the Steelers Titans is set at 52.5. So there should be plenty of points going around. So there should be plenty of scoring. All right, like I mentioned, head to fakepigskin.com. Check out all my write-ups on all the waiver wire claims. These are the names we're adding. These are the names we're targeting. If you have players in your league that I can't get that guy, or this guy's still available, would you take him? Hit us up on Twitter at FPAOP. You can see if you're on YouTube at Notorious KRO, at Greasy Rules 14. Drop comments, questions. We're happy to answer them. We'll make sure we're in there before waivers run, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, whatever it happens to be. But for Brian Twining, I'm Kyle Robert, and we'll talk to you guys next time.